We all can start with 3 long and deep breathings to situate ourselves in this space together. Now let's return to our normal breathing. Breathing in, I am aware of my body. Breathing out, I smile to my body. In, aware of body. Out, smiling. Now that we have established a rhythm of breathing, we can go a little bit deeper inside our physical body. Experiencing the pain in my body, I breathe in, smiling to the pain in my body, I breathe out. Experiencing the pain, smiling to the pain. aware of my state of mind. I breathe in, smiling to the state of my mind. I breathe out, breathing in, aware of mind, breathing out, smiling. Now that we have established the awareness of our mind and body, we can go a little bit deeper by inviting an emotion that is difficult to deal with, aware of that emotion. I breathe in love and care for that emotion. I breathe out, breathing in, aware of that emotion, breathing out, showing love and care for that emotion. Now let release all the thinking. Just breathe. Breathing in, I'm aware of my in-breath. Breathing out, I'm aware of my out-breath. All right. So today we'll continue our exploration into this wonderful and profound sutra. But before that, I'd like to remind you all that I don't know if you get my email or if you actually read it, but there is maybe a reminder to send me a sentence of dedication of merits. And yeah, some of you did send me, but the most majority of people who haven't sent me yet, so I haven't composed the dedication of merits. So after this, maybe try to think about something that you want to dedicate the practice, your practice, to the people, to whatever you think is important to you, because it is also a practice. You know, since the beginning, I ask you to kind of do different practices, and they are different spiritual practices, like writing gratitude journal, touching the earth, dedication of merits. So these are important practices that cooperate with this learning process, you know, and it's those practices can support the transformation process. Otherwise, learning only will not lead us far, you know. Just like Ananda, he was a great learner. He really paid attention to whatever the Buddha teaches, right? But the tradition said that he lacks of practice. You know, he knows the sutra well. He remember them well, but he didn't put those knowledge into practice. That's why he became an arahant later, much later than other monks and practitioners. So I just want to remind you that those practices are important, right? As we commit to do those practices, so we should also be responsible for our own practice, our own liberation. Otherwise, it become harder. Okay. Right. A person asked me about one of the things that I said in the last class, which is we have different states of mind. The two major ones are, a state of anxiety, suffering, and all sort of difficult emotion. And another one is a liberated state of mind, right? So the first one, it is like your habitual pattern when you associate with difficult emotion. For example, a difficult emotion arises in your mind, immediately you jump to that emotion, identify with it, or suffering because of that emotion. So that is the habit, that how we maybe deal with those difficult emotions. But then we want to build another habit, which is like build a different road to travel. So when difficult emotion arise, we don't immediately jump to that emotion, or we don't immediately identify with that emotion. So we build a new road, build a new habit when dealing with difficult emotions. So you will never get rid of your pain, your suffering. They will be there, maybe as seeds in your store consciousness. But if you don't give the conditions, seeds are just seeds. They will never manifest, right? And it is like I remember a story that a grandfather tell his grandchild that you have two wolves in you, right? The good one and the bad one, they are fighting. Which one will win? And the one you feed will win, right? So we all have different kinds of seeds, good seeds, bad seeds, all kinds of seeds. Which one will manifest? The one we nurture, right? The one we provide conditions. So anger seeds are in us. If you provide conditions for anger to manifest, those seeds will manifest. And who will be hurt by those seeds? You and your loved ones and people around you, right? So we want to provide conditions for new, better seeds, so that those will manifest. And remember, in Buddhism, we don't try to get rid of anything. We try to transform them, and we try to create conducive environment for transformation to happen. All right, so that is some clarification. So today we'll start the next part, which is the first flash of lightning. And today we have Linh Huynh and David, I think, to read. So Linh Huynh will go first to read for us, and then after finishing explanation, David will read. Please go ahead.
The first flash of the Buddha said to Suti, this is how the Bodhisattva Mahasattva master their thinking. However many species of living beings there are, whether born from eggs or from the womb or from moisture or spontaneously, whether they have form or do not have form, whether they have perceptions or do not have perceptions, or whether it cannot be said of them that they have perceptions or that they do not have perceptions. We must lead all these beings to the ultimate nirvana so that they can be liberated. And when this innumerable, immeasurable, infinite number of beings has become liberated, we do not, in truth, think that a single being has been liberated. Why is this so if Subhuti, a bodhisattva, holds on to the idea that a self, a person, a living being, or a lifespan exists, that person is not an authentic bodhisattva?
Right, thank you. I spent a few moments to contemplate this profound passage. For now, you can just ignore the part where, you know, the Buddha said, whether born from eggs, from womb, from moisture, to the part or that they do not have perception. That is just a way to say everything, every beings that we know or we don't, you know, that is just that. It may be very, very confusing, but that is just like whatever you see, moving or not moving, you know, living or not living, those are all beings that we or bodhisattva, you know, have to liberate. And then after liberating them, don't even think that there's a single being that you have helped liberated. So that is the meaning, you know, of the passage. But this is more than that. Maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so let's see. So this is the part where the Buddha teaches us how to do anything that is free from attachment and burnout. And he suggests us to ask the question, what is the most important thing to do in your life at this moment, in your context? It may not seem like that, but this is the question that we are suggested to ask ourselves. So we know that as humans, we are relational beings, you know. So without relationship, we may not survive. Yet it is also because of relationships that we may not be free from suffering. Who hurt us the most? Our loved ones, people we know, right? So first of all, we need people in our lives who love and care for us. We also have the need to care and to love, right? In, you know, attachment theory, infant babies need to bond with their parents for their mental development, right? Without, you know, that parental bond, many children grow up, you know, as immature adults or with some kind of mental imbalances. So nurturing relationship with others is a healthy way for all of us to flourish, right? However, not all relationships are created equal. Some relationships are very healthy and some are very toxic, right? Some people rely on relationship to feel needed or protected, or valued. Without the other person's praise or acknowledgement, they will not be happy. So they try so hard to get approval from others, you know. They work hard to earn love. They even become obsessed with, external success to be approved, right? So these symptoms are the proof of unhealthy relationship. So in this part of the sutra, the Buddha gives us some essential teaching for, creating ultimately healthy relationship with our loved ones and all beings. Because ultimately, when you want to help someone, you have to love them first. You have to have a care for them first. You cannot help someone if you hate that person, right? It's not authentic. Right, so the question here is how to master the thinking in order to love and care and liberate without attachment. So to master the thinking is to have the ability to transform what our mind is stuck in. Usually, our mind is always wandering with thoughts that we have no control over. Even now, we try to pay attention to this space, but our mind is keep, thinking and thinking about something else that is not here. So we want to think good thoughts. We want to control what kinds of thought that appear in our mind. And we want to have a say in what we think, right? Yet in reality, we are often overcome by our so-called monkey mind. A monkey mind is a mind that is like a monkey who jumps, from one branch to another. If you meditate, you know that. It never stops jumping. An important note for your meditation is that you don't have to stop thinking to be good at meditation. Only dead people can stop thinking. So we are not trying to stop thinking. We are aware of the thinking. That is an important tip for your meditation, for our meditation. So when Venerable Subhuti asked the Buddha how to master the thinking, not stop the thinking. So next time when you meditate, you don't try to stop your thinking. You are perfecting your thinking. So to master something, it is important that it is repeated, right? Again, we encounter the theme of repetition. Some people often ask me, how they can be good at meditation, as if meditation can be good or bad. I said that, you don't need to be good at meditation. You just have to repeat it every day. Similarly, mastery is cultivated and nurtured every day. So it does not come instantly, nor does it, happen overnight, right? Also, I want to emphasize that to master the thinking is not similar to think well or do the thinking well. If mastering, cooking or fighting means that you do those things well, then mastering the thinking is something different. So to master the thinking means to be able to perceive the thinking freely, externally, and internally in the thinking process. Like in other words, one has to be able to step out of the thinking, to look at it, and also to go deep inside and behind the root of the thinking. For example, if you are meditating, unwanted thought occurs in your mind. Let's say it is an anxious thought. It disturbs your peaceful meditation. You know, normally you want to get rid of that thought. You hate it, or you hate yourself for not doing it right, right? And unbeknown to you, you end that meditation session in anger and tiredness, right? So for those who master their mind, this is what they do. When, you know, the anxious thought occurs, they step out of that thought and observe it without judgment or without any added feeling. So they may say to the thought, "Hi there, I know that you are there and I'm here for you." So that thought becomes your guest, even it is unwanted guest, right? After a while, you may make contacts with the thought, or to enter to explore what the cause of that unwanted thought is. You know, sometimes you may not find the root, which is great because it is so random, right? The thought is so random. It just occur. It has nothing to do with you. It's random. It is like, you know, have if you when a dog barks at you, you don't do anything to cause that dog barking, right? So you try to find reason, but none to be found. So what do? You don't have any resentment to the dog. You let it go. You don't get anger because you don't do anything, right? So if you don't find any root, any cause for that unwanted thought, you just let it go, you know? And if you can find the cause, the root, you start your transformation with that cause. And how? It depends on what kind of causes that gives rise to the thought, you know? What I'm saying here is that to master the thinking is to be able to step out and step in the thinking process freely, you know. Remember, freely. You are not forced by the thought, you are not dragged by the thought, but you have your own, you know, agency when you observe the thought, right? So in the earlier sutra, in the earlier passages, there's a preparation process for our mind to engage in this, you know, teaching. Remember the question from Venerable Subhuti. If sons and daughter of good families want to, you know, give rise to the highest, most fulfilled, awakened mind, what should they rely on? And what should they do to master their thinking? You know, this question can be reinterpreted as how to achieve the highest wisdom of the Buddha. And the answer from the Buddha has two parts. And these two parts happens simultaneously, you know. First of all, you have to liberate all beings from suffering, regardless of what they are. What a great advice for healthy relationship, right? To yourself and to your loved ones. You liberate yourself and you liberate them all. Liberation from what? You may ask. It seems impossible. How can I liberate everybody, you know? How can I relate everybody? Not to consider my annoying co-workers or annoying neighbors, annoying friends. You know, how can I liberate them? Looking at them hurts my eyes. How can I liberate them, right? Conventionally, you know, there is something to be liberated from. Whatever is not liberated, you liberate that. For instance, you love your shoe or your car or your purse so much, right? I would say you have an attachment to that thing that you love, right? So you're not liberated from that. And then when you lose it, you suffer because you have attachment to that thing. So you are not liberated from that thing. Now, if you are liberated from that thing, when you lose it, you don't suffer. So you are liberated. And you, in that moment, you are a Buddha. You are a Bodhisattva. That's simple. That's easy. So now let's ask ourselves, what am I not liberated? What kind of thing that is, I have attachment to? And we can find many things, right? Many things in our life that, we are attached to. We are not liberated from that. So from small things, we can go to bigger things like a house, a friends, a loved ones, some people, so whatever the Buddha knows that whatever we touch, we attached. Whatever we touch, we are attached to that. And that attachment is what prevents us from liberation. One important aspect of liberation that is that this liberation should be applied to your thoughts, your ideas, and perception or preconceived notion of a self. When you are angry, there's a person who is angry, right? In fact, there is a feeling of anger arising in you. But often we perceive that anger. We identified with that anger. We say, I am angry, or I am the anger. This sentence is grammatically incorrect, yet when we are angry, there's nothing else but our anger, right? So it's not wrong to say I am anger because we identify with that anger. We are not liberated from that anger, right? So that is when you want to liberate yourselves from that feeling. Otherwise, you are bound to that feeling. That feeling may cause you suffering. Another example could be about craving. So you're craving for certain types of food. You ask your partner or your friend to buy it for you, but then he or she, got it wrong. You becomes mad at that person. Then you would argue over food. Maybe you would go further to blame them for being careless, or don't love you, don't care for you anymore. So you're suffering because of craving, not because of that person. If you're not craving, then there's no problem. You just accept whatever you have, right? But because of craving, it is the root of suffering, right? So whatever pleasant or unpleasant feelings that occur in your mind, if they cause you suffering, you should liberate yourself from that feeling. Each feeling is a being, that we all should liberate from. This is important because if you resent or dissociate from the feeling, you suffer more than the feeling is itself created, right? The nature of the feeling that has caused you suffering already, but then if you resent that feeling or dissociate from that feeling, then this feeling double or triple, and it is unnecessary suffering. It is not to get rid of that feeling or ignore that feeling. It is to, realize the impermanent nature of that feeling. It comes, it goes, right? Any kinds of feeling comes and goes like a stream of, water comes and go. It will never stay the same. That is the beauty of impermanence. Whatever feeling you had today, next second gone. But it will come back. But it will go again, right? In meditation, we have a technique called mere recognition. Mere recognition. When you meditate, you are aware of a sad or anxious feeling occurs in your mind. You may say, I recognize that a sad feeling occurs in my mind, and I'm present with that feeling right now. Mere recognition is just that. No judgment, no interpretation, no added feeling. Just recognize that feeling currently in your mind. You see, there is, no chasing after the feeling, no running from the feeling, That is how you liberate yourself from that feeling. Because in psychology, there's a saying that name it to tame it. If you know how to name a feeling, it is the first step you can liberate yourself from that feeling. And it is important because normally we are drowned or we are dragged by our feelings. We don't even recognize. This mere recognition practice sounds simple, but in reality, it's not. You have to be mindful at all times to recognize whatever feeling occurring in your mind to liberate yourself from that feeling. You do not want to want to get stuck in that feeling, right? So now consider each feeling you have is a being that you liberate. Every day you have so many feelings that should be liberated from. So that is the meaning of immeasurable, innumerable, infinite beings that we all have responsibility to liberate. And that is just one part. That is just the part within us, One essential component when liberating others, is that you transcend your negative emotions toward others, right? Like I said, when you help someone, you don't hold any grudges toward them. Otherwise, it would not be genuine, right? Similarly, this liberation practice is to help you generate compassion for them, for the people you help liberating. Additionally, this compassion couples with actual actions can accelerate the process of liberating others. You may ask, this task seem so difficult because I have so many feelings, beings within me I have to liberate. How can I do this? Yet it is difficult if there is a dichotomy or binary of self and others. Like a branch of a tree, never say that it is different from the root, right? This, or from the seed that gives birth to that tree, to that branch, right? A right hand never say to the left hand that it is better. Since we have perception about selves and others, therefore the task of liberating all becomes difficult. This is the second part of the Buddha's answer, you know. After liberating all of them, we do not think that there is a single being has been liberated. When this innumerable, immeasurable, infinite number of beings has become liberated, we do not, in truth, think that a single being has been liberated. If we think there's someone or some being that is being liberated by us, then we have a problem, you know. So this is very important. And it is a dilemma for our conventional mind when we see this. On the one hand, we have so many beings to liberate. On the other hand, after done the work or during the process, we have to somehow come up with a realization that there's not a single being that is being liberated, you know. Have you ever do the, you know, if you meditate, if you count, have you ever counted your thoughts? This is one thought, this is another. If you can count, then one day you have innumerable, immeasurable numbers of thoughts. So let's put those thoughts at beings, and you not kind of dissociate, or you don't take yourself apart from those thoughts. Even though if we meditate, we kind of transcend, we kind of transform those thoughts, and we don't even think that we have help, or we have liberated any thought, because it is just our nature when we doing the meditation, right? So similarly, when we do the work like helping people, we don't think that, oh, this person is different from me, I help them, I liberate them. If we think that, the work will become so heavy, it becomes so difficult. So we don't we try not to have that kind of binary thinking. One example, one theme that is repeating all over the sutra is the practice of giving. So the theme of generosity is one of the central themes of this sutra. You know, maybe we can take an example when we talk about this theme of giving. So even though we think that this sutra negates the independent existence of self and others, giving and being generous is where we start the spiritual process of becoming a great practitioner. This theme reminds us that to be able to achieve insights from the practice, we have to have compassion for others. So that's why this theme is so important in Bodhisattva practice. Remember the 6 paramita, 6 perfections practices. So the first one is generosity or giving, right? So when this giving is so easy to practice and also so hard to perfect, like when you give someone some money or some food, you know, do you go around and tell everybody how generous you are? Of course not, right? So that is how, you know, that's the simple way to explain this sutra. You liberate, and you don't even think that you have liberated them. You know, if your gift is huge, like some people would donate everything to a cause when they pass away, you know, if you do that, do you want your gift to be remembered? Of course, you know, that is how this society works, right? You see names on buildings which means that those people gave a lot of money to those organizations and they put their names on the buildings. So these people are not practicing generosity correctly in the Bodhisattva way. We Buddhists think about giving differently. We are inspired to perfect the art of giving. We give and train our mind to realize that there is no giver, no receiver, and no gift. That is the practice of paramita, going beyond or transcending duality. How is it helpful in our day-to-day life? It is extremely helpful in so many aspects, especially in human relationship. First of all, when you give something to someone, you are practicing generosity for yourselves, not just for the other person. Okay? Don't even think that you are doing it just for them. Instead, you are doing the giving for your own good. It may sound irrational and unconventional, but think again. As a spiritual and Buddhist practitioner, we all are inspired to achieve the highest wisdom and compassion, right? To transform suffering. So thanks to those who are in need, you have a chance to perfect your practice. Without those who are in need, how could you perfect your giving practice? An irrational and unconventional way of giving is to be grateful for those who receive your gift. Is it difficult to accept? If it is the first knot you have to untie. Bodhisattvas depends on beings to perfect the arts of their paramita. So now I challenge all of these bodhisattva in this Zoom. Next time when you are about to give something to someone, be grateful for that person, because thanks to them, you have a great opportunity to perfecting your giving practice. And this applies to other paramita as well, other practices as well. And this is very irrational, I know, in this society. But it is what the diamond in this sutra trying to cut the conventional rational thinking that we are so used to. All right, this is the first part of the giving practice, and the first part when we start to master the thinking. We will we'll spend some time to think about this and to discuss among ourselves, because I know that some of the teachings here are very unconventional. It is hard to wrap our mind around it, and sometimes it hurts to even think about these practices. But that is how we overcome duality, challenge our conventional way of thinking, challenge our perceptions. Only that can we overcome, the suffering that we experience, look beyond the suffering, look deeply into that suffering, to find something new, to find diamond, right? All right, so now let's do the reading. Let's read the sutra one more time, and I'll send you to your breakout room. I will do it randomly, so that you will meet other friends as well. So David, go ahead.
3. The first flash of lightning. The Buddha said to Subhuti, "This is how the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas master their thinking. However, many species of living beings there are, whether born from eggs, from the womb, from moisture, or spontaneously, whether they have form or do not have form, whether they have perceptions or do not have perceptions, or whether it cannot be said of them that they have perceptions or that they do not have perceptions. We must lead all these beings to the ultimate nirvana so that they can be liberated. And when this innumerable, immeasurable, infinite number of beings has become liberated, we do not in truth think that a single being has been liberated. Why is this so? If, Subhuti, a bodhisattva holds on to the idea that a self, a person, a living being, or a lifespan exists, that person is not an authentic bodhisattva.
Thank you, David. All right, I'll send you to your breakout room, and the theme for the questions for your discussion is whatever you hear from this lecture, and whatever question, concerns, or takeaway you can share within your group. Okay. Welcome back. I hope you have a fruitful dialogue. All right, so now is time for you to share with me what you have discussed. Anybody can go.
I could go. Our team, our group, our small group said that it was a good idea to talk. I think that one of the issues was the enormity of this complexity being very hard. It's more about getting us thinking because it's an impossible thing to liberate all beings. There's too many. And at the same time, if they were all liberated, they wouldn't be at all liberated. So it's more about thinking about the nature of reality. And that was it we could come up with. The second part, I think, that was more important related to your discussion of generosity. And in particular, this view of the not separateness of self is beneficial to us because we realize that that person who's suffering on the street over there is me. I'm over there suffering. Now I have $5 here, and that $5 will give me something to eat. I have plenty of food at home. If I give it to that person, then now we're not suffering less. and I didn't lose anything. I have $5 fewer, but I'm actually happier, and the world is happier as a result of that transaction. And so no one loses anything, actually. It's a benefit completely in that view. Yeah.
If billionaires in this country also think like that, then nobody is suffering anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May it be so.
Yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. Yes, hi, Thai. Go ahead.
Our group discussed how we have deep compassion in our lives, but maybe it's not perfected yet. In this reading, we saw that it's about extending, that compassion to all beings without distinction. And that's still difficult for us. But maybe this is the ideal vantage point, right? The fully authentic bodhisattva is something to strive towards.
Yeah, that's the ideal, right? That's the aim where we are going toward, and something that is bigger than just ourselves, something more meaningful, to strive for, right? So it's great. Yes, David.
So, and I'll accept help from anybody that's in our group, either Ling, Matt, or Danielle. Where I want to go is having a discussion about the passage in and of itself when we're saying how many living beings there are. And so the question that we had was, what do you actually call a sentient being, and where does that end, right? So obviously humans are sentient being, and then when we read this passage, we say, well, there's beings of many different types of sentience, whether or not they come from eggs, womb moisture, etc., having perception, not having perception. So the question that we had is, well, how far do you go, right? And then you might say, plants, animals are sentient, plants are sentient, and then are even inanimate objects, maybe they're actually sentient. So how far do you actually go? And if you extend that to the totality of the universe, you might actually say that, well, everything to some extent has sentience. And then the question was, where do you draw the line between who you are, as that you call yourself, so-called self, and where does that end? Because obviously as we're interacting with the universe, we're having an effect on it. And so is who I am, does that end at my body, at my ideas, my thoughts, but as it extends to others as well throughout the entire universe, to the point where maybe we are the entire universe in and of ourselves, and that gets to the point of the dissolution of self. And then we kind of related that to saying, all right, well, if I am everything at that source, that base level, then it's kind of like when you're giving something to somebody else, you're kind of giving to yourself in that sense, if we actually are everything in that sense. It's just an interesting concept, taking it that far. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it to some extent in that sense, but that's where we kind of went with it a little bit.
We travel one step at a time. Anybody want to chime in to share any ideas about this? Because to me, the conventional way, for example, when we give, is that I am the giver, that person is the receiver. Then another step is that, okay, now I think first I thought I give that person because for their own good, right? Another step is that, I give because for my own good. And then another step is that, no, actually, if I understand this sutra correctly, then there is no distinction between this self and the other self. Because if there is me, there's a universe, then still there's something different, some separate, right? So we want to see another step, which is there's no separation, no distinction between so-called Thầy or so-called David or so-called whatever, and the universe, right? So how are we get there? By doing small step, like, overcome the conventional knowledge first, and then go, higher through, we have through practice, not through thinking, okay? If we think, then we will be lost in the thinking, and it will become some philosophical debates, or, yeah, so. Anyone else? Nguyên Thiện, is that a hand? No? Okay. I thought
The other thing that
go ahead.
I was gonna the one last thing we were talking about is like basically what you were saying is the giving with non-attachment, right, as a practice. So when you give something, not doing it for any particular reason, but just to give, and not expecting anything in return or anything like that. And that's one of those practices. As you do that, you're coming from, you have a perspective towards the world that's more giving, compassionate, with gratitude towards the world. And I think coming from it with that perspective, rather than the other perspective that says, if I give something to you, are you doing something good with that? Are you thinking about, you still have that attachment, and that comes from maybe a place of fear, greed, rather than of kind of loving, compassionate gratitude, kindness.
Yeah. Next week we'll talk about what happened after they receive our gift, right? How can we transcend that also? Any other group? If your group hasn't spoken, I'm looking at you. You know who you are.
Dear Thầy, our group were talking about, only had 2 people were talking, but we talk about self-compassion. And so follow with what you were just saying. I think the best time that we love to meditate is in the morning when our mind is not thinking, so we can focus a little more. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Our group had a question about what exactly is meant by a true bodhisattva doesn't see a self or any beings, but is still practicing to liberate them. Why that is the mark of a true bodhisattva.
You're jumping ahead. I want to save that for later, because this passage is very profound. I think we want to go step by step, from we're not really go to that ideal place yet, but we go from a baby step, to achieve, in order to have a kind of a roadmap to achieve, to get there. But to answer your maybe a little bit for this question, is a true bodhisattva. The word true bodhisattva is also a language, conventional way to, to distinguish between not true bodhisattva and a true bodhisattva, right? So look at this sutra. All the words, the language, the lexicon that is being used here are, is a conventional way to carry the ultimate truth. And we have to be really careful when I have to be really careful trying to interpret this kind of language. Yes, the question is, what is true bodhisattva, right? How do we know, and why a true bodhisattva doesn't seem to see a distinction between a self and others, a living being, a lifespan? So it is something we will explore further in the coming classes. All right, Hai Thai, you have something, please?
Yeah, also, it's not that the authentic bodhisattva, at least according to this direct translation, it's not that they don't see those ideas, it's that they don't hold on to them, right? So maybe there's a distinction here between the conventional world of the self, the person, the living beings, and maybe an ultimate world, ultimate vantage point where those distinctions don't exist, but in maybe the middle way, there's a bodhisattva which can understand that in the world that we live in, but doesn't hold on to it.
That's a good way to put it. They see, right? They like us, they see, but they don't hold on to it. They don't have attachment to it. And I have something for you to ponder, for those of you who know Pure Land Buddhism, which is a branch of Buddhism. So in Pure Land, there is no suffering. I ask you, if there is no suffering, is there happiness in the Pure Land? So with that, we will conclude our class today, and please share the dedication of merits.
Okay, with gratitude, may the wisdom and compassion we nurture while exploring the Diamond Sutra illuminate our paths. With gratitude, may it lead us to deeper understanding, peace, healing, harmony, and joy for all living beings. With gratitude, may our dedication to learning and practicing the Buddhist teachings help lessen suffering and guide ourselves and others towards enlightenment. With gratitude, may all find happiness, may all be free from suffering, may all beings reach enlightenment.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and practicing and learning together. It's been a great joy.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful, wonderful moment whenever you are.
Thank you very much, thầy.
Thank you, thầy.
Thank you,
So
thầy.
long, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
thầy.
good evening,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Thầy.
Very much.